And there is an appreciation. When you talk to the women who understand it, they're like, wow, I'm so happy. That's amazing that group is there. And it's just, you see their perspective on it. They want men to do this work. They want other men. So any man who's watching, who's not in the program, you realize the power you get and whether it's your wife, your girlfriend, whatever, it just makes you a better man all around. And it's so attractive to them.
It is. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the TPM Show. We have a special guest here at the TPM Ranch, Andrew the Gift. And today what we're going to talk about is Andrew's journey. And his journey is so rich and has so much texture. I think you guys are really going to get a lot from his story and also a lot from his wisdom. So stay tuned and wait till the end because we're going to talk about how Andrew got to where he is today. Man, Andrew, thanks for being here, volunteering at the Rising, being at the ranch. It's just, you bring such great energy.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Love it.
Yeah, man. We were talking before we started recording about your journey through TPM and where you started and where we're at. Let's start at the beginning, right? A natural place to start. Why did you join TPM?
So obviously my marriage was not going well and it hadn't been going well for quite some time. And I don't exactly know the moment that I found TPM, or it found me rather, I'd like to say, because it might have been a Facebook pop-up or something. And I just clicked on it, saw your video, your handsome face. And I said, I said, wow, that's my life. So I joined the activation method. I made the consultation, talked to Mo, joined the activation method, and went through the program. And I learned a lot. I learned a ton. I mean, it was all the tools, all the things that most men just don't know, simply, right?
Yeah, totally.
And I got caught up in an outcome and it wasn't working. It wasn't helping my marriage. It was just, looking back now, it was too far gone, right? It was just too much. But I tried. I left. I didn't continue on into the Brotherhood right away. Mm-hmm. And it hit me at one point. I started regressing a little bit, right? And I just said, you know what? I got to do this, but I got to do it for me. And I joined the Brotherhood, and it's the best decision I ever made because it just literally just catapulted everything for me and just getting into the core of who I actually am and who I lost along the process of marriage. And that's, I think, a common thing that a lot of guys do. They just end up doing for other people and they lose themselves. And, it's really a sad story when you think about it, but I found myself again. So that's the silver lining in it, right?
Well, it is, man. And I think a lot of guys lose who they are, right? We lose our identity because especially when our relationship isn't working out. I mean, you're a business owner, you're a father, so you have all these other roles and responsibilities, which makes you automatically a provider, a protector of others. And I think we lose our identity when things aren't working out. And a lot of men, I know I was in the situation when my marriage wasn't working. Am I a failure because it's not working?
Sure.
Who am I to my identity as a man because things aren't working out?
Yeah.
I was kicking ass in every other area of my life except that one.
Yeah.
Which ended up being the one that mattered the most to me when I actually kind of wrote it down on paper. And to your point, not all marriages are salvageable, right?
Yeah.
It takes two to tango, as they say. And for one reason or another, it doesn't always work out.
Sure.
But you are always, I want to say stuck with, but I don't want to use that word. You're always with yourself. Wherever you go, it's you that shows up, and how you show up is instrumental.
Sure. And I think that's the thing, is that at some point our identity becomes hinged to the happiness of the people around us, right? Yeah. And we want to make our family happy. You want to make your wife happy. You want to make your kids happy, but their happiness is their own responsibility to some extent, right?
100%.
And if they're not willing to do the work, which was the case in my case, and she would look at me like, oh, why are you doing all that? And, whatever. But it needed to be done. And she probably needed to do some work. And, anyway, it's, you can only control yourself. And I dove into myself, and I'm so happy that I found this place. This is, this Brotherhood, I would never leave it. And to anyone watching this, it's just, you got to get in this. It's just, we're just different men. You almost lose your old friend circle in a weird way. You don't lose them, but you're identifying more with new friends because they're aligned with you, and they realize the potential in the future and what this place has to offer, and men like us who do the work have to offer. So
100%. Well, it's iron sharpens iron. We've all heard these things, but as a business owner, you're a leader. You know, you don't clock off at 5 o'clock.
No.
You got kids, and you're growth oriented. And so when you find other men who are growth oriented, they're out there leading in their communities, and they've got no skin in the game other than your own growth, right? Everybody's helping each other.
Sure.
You feel better. We were talking about this a little bit offline. You feel really good uplifting up those around you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my whole purpose for being here for the Alpha Rising, was just to bring love and support for the men that are doing it. I mean, I went through it and you're like, wow, it's amazing. But, you know, just being there to give a little nudge, or just seeing that blind spot that they're not seeing and just helping them through it, right?
Yeah. And, you know, I don't, for me, or for a lot of guys back home, so to speak, you know, you're the top of the tree, top of the ladder. So it's difficult to find men that you can have honest, real conversations with about your business, right? These are businessmen,
Sure.
so we talk business, how to scale, all those things, but also how your problems maybe your kids are having, problems that you might be having in new relationships, which we can get to in a little bit. But now you surround yourself with these guys who have all joined a community to better themselves, for themselves and their families. Now they also naturally turn that energy to each other, right?
Yeah.
And like attracts like.
And it's an open, safe place. And that's the biggest thing, is that you cannot say anything in this group that someone else hasn't dealt with.
Yep.
And I mean, hundreds of them have dealt with the same thing. You're not alone. You realize, wow, I'm safe. I'm accepted. I can say something that happened to me or something that I did. And, you know,
Yeah.
you just let it go. You know, you can give yourself that forgiveness you need, right?
It's amazing, man. So let's backtrack, because I know you and I know what we're talking about, but some people listening to this are, so this guy did what? So you joined the activation method, which is a program. It's an 8-week program. We work in a small group with a coach, where you're designed to really learn relationship skills, but also dive deep into yourself.
Yeah,
right.
sure.
During that time period. So it's like an accelerated boot camp, if you will, to get the tools necessary to learn communication skills, energy, shifting those kinds of things. Then you took some time off. Then afterwards, you joined the Brotherhood, which is a 1-year kind of mastermind, if you will, with also master classes, coaching, and a group of guys that you're coming with. And then you went to your Alpha Reset, which is a 3-day intensive. It's really 4 days intensive. What was that program like for you?
I like to say that was the best week of my life. Yeah. And I really still, even having the Alpha Rising is amazing and gave me so many shifts, but the Alpha Reset, I don't think I would have survived if I hadn't done it. It just shifted everything for me. And I was broken.
Yeah.
Doug, I was broken. I didn't know it. I was walking around like, oh no, I'm good. But I was not good. And it's the craziest thing. You don't realize it until it's such a deep dive. I mean, guys watching don't know what it is, but it's such a deep dive that into yourself and the stories you've been telling yourself. And, you know, once it was one layer after another layer that I uncovered that, you know, I mean, yeah, it's a few days, but it was really a week to lead up to going there and, you know, everything else. Right. And I just found that there was so much that I hadn't dealt with that I suppressed, which is, I think, the biggest thing that men do. We're taught from an early age, boys don't cry, you don't do this, you don't do that, right? And you just suppress everything, and it's all bottled up inside. And then, boom, you release it. You walk out free. You know, it's
Well, at day 2, the most common thing we always say, if you know, you know. But on day 2, let me just say, at the end of day 2, a lot of men will say, I found myself for the first time, either ever or in a long time.
Yeah.
Did you have that experience?
I would say day 2 was huge for me. And it was just, but I think it was a compounding effect. I'm starting to realize that I guess it hits me maybe the 3rd day, it seems to be, right? Even with the rising. It's like, you know, I'm building, then boom, oh, you know?
Yeah.
So
clarity.
I think, right. It just takes a little while to settle in and realize what just happened. And, you know, you feel it, you know, but for me, it just needs that extra little polish, right? And I'm like, okay, why was I doing that? You know?
Yeah, absolutely. And then the Alpha Rising, which you brought up, you're here right now volunteering as men are going through that experience. And the Alpha Rising, for those that don't know, because we don't talk about it much on the show, is the next level of the Alpha Reset. It takes what kind of builds upon the layers that were pulled back during the Alpha Reset. It's an in-person event, and it adds on and contributes to that.
Yeah.
In a very different way.
Yeah, and it's just the next level thing. It's really, what are you going to do next? I mean, it's kind of operating on the assumption that you're already good. You're past the layers of pain and hurt. I mean, most people are, right? I mean, you're in the program long enough. You might still be having issues in a marriage, and that's okay, right?
Yeah.
But you have the tools to go through it, and now you're looking for, what can I do better? How can I improve myself? And you find it.
Yeah. Well,
this week was amazing for these men. I mean, I tell you, they knocked out the park, Doug.
Yeah.
They really did. It's just so beautiful to watch.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, man, it is really tough for me not to be here during. I live, for those that don't know, I live 10 minutes away from the TPM Ranch. The TPM Ranch is a 106-acre ranch that we do events at. And this time we have 4 coaches that flew in from around the world, 2 amazing volunteers that flew in, you being one of them. And so I get to come here, hang out with you guys during, during part of it. But the guys that are going through the experience, I won't see them till tonight.
Yeah.
And we won't say what's happening tonight, but I'm really looking forward to it. Really, really looking forward to it. I just thought about that. You were talking about being broken. Your nickname coming out of the Alpha Reset. So this is something I will tell the listeners, is the men give each other a nickname, right? That's not really a big secret coming out of it, at least within the TPM community.
Yeah.
And your nickname was?
Unbreakable.
Unbreakable, because you just said I was broken.
There's a story for that.
I bet there is. There always is a story with the nicknames. I mean, that's where they come out.
Yeah.
And coming out of the Rising, they renamed you.
Yeah.
And that name is?
The Gift.
The Gift,
Yeah.
which Colton also passed down.
He was so kind.
He was.
to give up his name.
He gave you a gift.
Yeah.
But it is the gift. And
Gift.
The reason you got that was, I thought, really, really cool,
Yeah. So it was during my Alpha Rising in November. I was, can't give up too much details, but one sleepless night, I just had this thought to write this poem, and I took out my journal and started writing, and it was. It just came straight from the heart. I don't have it memorized. I'm not that good, Doug. I did read it in the last podcast with Tim, but
yeah.
It's really, the poem just represents, there's a lot of depth to it in my opinion, but
Yes.
it represents the difference between what another brother had referred to as the prize, saying that the men who do this work are the prize. And I had a different spin on it because I felt that, it's not a prize. To me, it's a gift. It's no expectation. You're just doing it because you want to do it. You're giving it because you feel that person deserves that, and you want to give, and no expectation, no outcome necessary, just a gift.
Yeah.
Right?
I love it.
From love,
I love it, man. Yeah. I remember when you read that poem, it touched me deeply.
Yeah.
It was really a beautiful poem.
And in, me coming here is a gift to these men, right? They may view it that way, they may not. It's okay. I came to give the gift.
Well, that's the thing with the gift, right? That you talked about in the poem. Like, I don't give a gift because I'm asking for something in return.
Right.
Right. So many men early on do that in their relationships, right?
Yeah.
It's horse trading, right? They'll give their wife a gift. They'll buy the lake house. They'll take her on a vacation. They'll buy a new diamond ring or necklace.
Sure.
And in return, she's going to give me sex, love, appreciation. They don't just give it to say, hey, I love you. Here you go, and walk away.
It's actually kind of funny because you earlier alluded to, well, we'll talk about how it is in your relationships now and, dating world or whatever.
Yeah.
And I've actually said it to a couple of women. I said, talking about the gift thing, I said, listen, I said, honestly, I said, if you ever ask me for something, likely I'm not going to give it to you. I said, I want to do it because I want to do it, not because you're asking or you think you need something. It's like, I was like, I might want to give you that same thing. Or maybe, if I noticed you liked it and you wanted it, I'm going to keep that at the back of my mind, and later on I'm going to get it for you. But if someone asks for something, it kind of dilutes it for me,
Yeah, for sure.
It makes me feel like, I want it to be special, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and that's just a material thing, which we all know. Things are just things and collection of things, and that's not what really matters.
No, but it's the intent behind it, right?
Yeah.
It's the intent behind the gift, the desire to give somebody something because you want to make them happy. Should you choose to? Genuinely, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, you talked about it. So here you are. I won't say anything about your wife, but it didn't work out the way you had anticipated or hoped or planned initially. And here you are. Who is Andrew today versus Andrew that came in to the activation method?
Oh, man, that's a tough one. So the old Andrew was stuck in a pattern of, I could even say that I was probably blaming her for every single thing, right? And I think a lot of guys coming into the activation method, it's like, well, she does this and she does that. And it's always like, yeah, okay, what do you do? How do you show up, right?
Yep.
And you start to realize that, right?
Yeah.
And I definitely had those patterns. And it was just, things could be good for a little while. And then, something might trigger me and then boom, off I go off on a tangent and I don't show up the same way. I could be good for a month, 2 months. Everything seems like it's getting better. And then something triggers it and you have a little implosion and you're just 10 steps backwards and your connection's lost, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I process things just completely different now. The triggers, I'm not saying the triggers are gone.
Yeah.
But you just know when you get triggered and you can step back from it and say, And generally speaking, my latest thing, I mean, I'm not going to call myself Andrew 2.0, right? I mean, some people do that, but I'm just not the same man anymore. I'm so evolved that something happens. I think about it like if I say something, I'm like, oh, it might take me 30 seconds. I didn't mean that. I'm sorry. The way I said that might have came off the wrong way because that self-reflection is in there and you can instantly get it and just vocalize and say, look, I apologize. I didn't mean to say that way. What I meant to say was this. And,
you're taking ownership.
Communication. Yeah. Ownership. And, I also backing up at the end of when my divorce started, right? I was already in the Brotherhood and doing work. And I kind of reflected on, there were some things, there was a piece of resentment. Had I not been in and doing this work, oh God, that resentment would have owned me.
Yeah.
But I was able to deal with it in a very short period of time and move on to saying, hey, still the mother of my children. I still have love for her. I have loved my children. I want the best outcome, right? Mm-hmm. I could have spiraled down a path that,
yeah.
Some people do, right? You get in court and you go for the jugular and you want to fight. I did not fight. I just sat there and said, you know what? Whatever's going to be is going to be. And still was a miserable process. It still is a miserable process over 2 years later, not done with it, right?
Yeah.
But
well, the way you show up, your kids are watching, you show up with such great energy, right? You've worked on it quite a bit and studied it quite a bit and done a lot of reflection. And one thing about you, it's such a juxtaposition. So I'll start with who you are now, who I know you to be. You're extremely energetic. What I mean by that is not just you have a lot of energy, but you're very in tune with your energy, your intuition. You are very eloquent with your words. You also have a quiet softness about your spirit. Like you said, you wrote a poem, right? And on the other side, you're a New Yorker who owns a construction business, right?
It doesn't really go hand in hand, right?
Yeah, but they do. Like that's the beautiful thing is I think we have stereotypes of people, right?
Sure.
That go through there. And when men go through the program and find them, what I call find themselves, their true selves, like you're able to express it fully. Like I find you to be very expressive of yourself and your passions. Yesterday we spent a couple hours going through something that you're very passionate about. I found it super interesting and helpful. And it was a gift for me, right? You were doing something as a gift for me. At least that's the way I received it.
More gifts to come.
Yeah. You're sharing your interests and what you're passionate about. And they're not things that typically people don't talk about them. Two, I would say most men don't take the time to investigate what they're really, truly interested in and passionate about and go for it.
Yeah.
And you jump with 2 feet in.
That's the part of dropping into your heart space, right?
Yep.
It's so easy to get caught up in that head space.
Dude.
And we talk about that a lot here, right? But it's just when you allow yourself and, we're going to all have moments of being in the head, but when you drop in, you're just a different person,
Yes.
and you can feel and you can speak from the heart. And, I don't really agree with the eloquent part. I'm still a construction company owner from New York, right? But when I do speak from the heart, I'm a different person. If I get heady, you'll hear pop, 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 and it took me a couple of days of being here in Oregon to drop in and adjust to the slowness, and it's a beautiful thing once you do it. But it takes a while coming from New York to come here.
Oh yeah, it's a totally different vibe, right? And it's a different energy altogether.
It's a beautiful energy.
Yeah, and you are eloquent. Like you speak your mind and you say it very, very eloquently. Like your words are good and they're impactful. And we talk about polarization and energy and things that you've worked on. And then, one of the things that I know from the men that come through the program, and either 3 things typically happen, right? So a man joins the activation method, and we have other programs too. And either he goes through it and he and his wife rekindle and their marriage is better than ever, right?
Yeah,
That's the
sure.
ideal. That's what we want. Or he goes through it and realizes that it's either too late for one reason or another. She's not doing the work or something, and they both separate. The third thing that happens is he'll go through, do the work, and go, wow, he's up-leveled so much that he decides to leave. He goes, wait a minute, I'm not going to put up with this BS anymore. And he leaves. So when the guys leave and choose to leave their relationships, the thing that I hear all the time from women that they date or anything else, and we did a podcast here with Gary Lester and his partner, the women, she said the same thing, is like, holy cow, I didn't know men like this existed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the guys find themselves just like chick magnets, essentially, or women magnets. And the women are just dying for a man with your level of energy and intuition.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting in dating, and it's like fishing with dynamite, right? I mean, and I say that in the least ego way possible. It's just that I might not look, if you're on a dating site and like it's just looks is the only thing. I'm not for everyone. I'm for who I'm for, and that's okay, right?
Yep.
But once you start that conversation, they realize, oh wow, you're not the same as these other people, and it's great. But at the end of the day,
hey guys, I just want to share something with you. I'm sure we can both agree that in order to fix something, you need to know what's broken. And not only need to know what's broken, but a step-by-step methodology on how you can fix it. That's the easiest way to do it, right? Otherwise, you're going to be toiling with things. That's why I created a free training, a training that not only shows you how you got to where you are, where your relationship is missing that love, respect, admiration, and even intimacy that it used to have, to how you get it back. How do you retain that where your wife's looking at you the same way she used to look at you when she said, I do? You know, I don't know about you, but for me, when my wife looks at me like I'm her man, that I feel like I can conquer the world. And I want that for you. Simply go over to thepowerfulman.com/scales. That's thepowerfulman.com/scales. And I have a free video training for you. You can just click play and see if this resonates for you. Now back to the podcast.
For me, it became a selection of what do I really want? And that's a whole nother thing of diving into the personality that you need in your life. And you have all the tools, and it definitely sets you apart. I don't know what percentage you could make it of the regular men who don't do the work, but I'm glad that they don't know how to do the work. It makes my life, makes my selection easier, right?
Well, that's the thing that most guys, when I talk to guys about, like, I had a buddy of mine who was going through something. I'm like, hey man, go through the program. And worst case scenario, the absolute worst case scenario is you become a better man.
100%.
100%.
It's about you.
Yeah, your stock rises. That's the way I look at it. Like, if your stock is rising, like my wife wants my stock to rise, right?
Yeah.
She gets a better husband. She gets a better man.
Better father.
A better father. And for me, if my stock is rising and for some reason our relationship doesn't work out, for whatever reason, I don't anticipate that happening, but let's just say it doesn't. Now I go back on the market as a higher, more worth, more value, and I enjoy my life better.
And the interesting thing is, because I've met, I've dated a couple of women that have done the work, and when you appreciate that so much more when you're in it. Right?
Oh yeah.
And they realize, like, whoa, wait a minute, you talk that way. That's interesting. Why? Because they don't know until you have a conversation. And there's those catchphrases that people hear. I mean, some people obviously people listen to podcasts, right? But some people get those little blips of those 30-second, I don't know what they're called, or they're shorts or whatever, and they hear them and they listen to them over and over again, and then they start talking and using the lingo, but they don't really do the work.
Yeah.
You can smell that in 30 seconds, but so the women can sense it too. And they're like, oh, wow, you're a little bit deeper than that. Why? And it's probably the most attractive thing in the world, because I know, to me, when I find a woman who's doing it, I'm like, ooh, I like that, because now
sexy.
It's that connection of same connection I have with the brothers here, right? Like I can talk about these things and we can talk freely, and we're not going to, it's amazing. And that's what I want. That's ultimately what we all want, right?
It is. And what, so I had a call yesterday, as you know, Andrew, but I had a call with a woman yesterday, and she's done work as let's just call it a contractor, if you would. Some of the men that have been through the program have hired her to help them. And when we got on the call with her, and this is my first time meeting her, it was a video call. She's just like, I just want to thank you for the work that you're doing with these men. The men that I've met that come out of the program are tuned in. They know what they want in life. They're easy to work with. They can connect. They're all intelligent, right? All these guys that come to the program, I mean, guys listening to this are going to be intelligent.
Yeah.
And then you add on that layer of also having that emotional intelligence that most men, like I was never taught, you probably weren't taught. And you have skills, and it's like being Superman, right?
Yeah.
All of a sudden you look like a superhero to women.
And there is an appreciation when you talk to the women who understand it. They're like, wow, I'm so happy. That's amazing that group is there. And it's just, you see their perspective on it. They want men to do this work. They want other men. So any man who's watching, who's not in the program, you realize the power you get, and whether it's your wife, your girlfriend, whatever, it just makes you a better man all around. And it's so attractive to them.
It is. I get asked all the time. Like I was in the dental office, and the women there, and we were just kind of checking out, and they're like, "What's your email address?" I'm like, "Okay, at thepowerfulman.com." And they're like, "What is that?" Because they hear the Powerful Man, and it can be polarizing, right? And I go, "Oh, you know what we do is we help married men save their marriages for their families and their kids, become better husbands, better fathers for themselves, without sacrificing themselves, without sacrificing their businesses." 100% of the time, Andrew, you know what happens? All the women gather around and ask how they can get their husband in. 100%. If I check into a hotel, it's the same thing. The desk clerks always come like, "Can I get a card? How can I put this in front of my boyfriend or my husband?" Because they want their man to do the work.
And you know, it's funny you say you see the Powerful Man, because the name, it's a little misleading, right, in a sense. But it's not when you understand what true power is.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think
it's the power within.
Yeah.
It's the power within yourself. It's not like thump your chest.
Yeah.
I'm going to go beat people up power. And that's
people
what people
don't understand.
assume.
Masculine energy gets misunderstood too. They think that masculine is all yelling and screaming. It's not at all. I mean, we know that, but
no, that's teenage energy.
Yeah.
That's childlike energy. So a true man is going to be able to control himself so he doesn't have outbursts, right? And that's where when you're meeting women dating, or I'm talking to this woman yesterday, or I'm at the office, they realize that they can get their primal need met, and that is safety.
Yeah.
Because a man who doesn't have control of his emotions is not safe.
Yeah.
And I wasn't. And I remember my wife going, what did she say? "I don't feel safe around you." And I was like, what the hell? At the time, I was boxing, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I was working out. I was doing, I'm like, I'm a safe guy to be around. Like, and I've never hit a woman, pushed a woman. So I was like, what do you mean you don't feel safe?
Yeah.
And she didn't feel emotionally safe.
Sure.
And I had no clue what a man.
No,
you know?
I was in the same boat. You know, we think, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing everything. Well, you know, except you're not doing the one thing that they really need to feel safe, and showing up strong and confident, but in a calm, grounded way that just, you know.
And you got to think that,
and that takes time to build those skills, right? And
100%.
it's, you know, but it's such an amazing thing when you are that way, and your kids see it, and everyone around you sees it.
Yeah,
it's magnetizing. It really is. It's just,
well, your kids are going to grow up to be like you.
Yeah,
they just are. And so
that was a huge lesson in the reset. Oof.
Yeah. Do you want them to grow up to be either they're going to marry a man like you, or they're going to grow up to be you if they're boys, right? And do you want them to be a man who has outbursts, who packs everything in, everything's okay, and then all of a sudden when you have no resources left inside of you, then you just snap, right? And then you just go off and yell at everybody, and then you feel guilty, you feel ashamed, and you got to go clean things up.
Full cycle,
right? And then it just goes and repeats and repeats and repeats.
I've been there.
Well, so have I, man. So have I. And you talked about this earlier about how most men enter the program waiting for us to tell them how to fix their wives, right? And I remember when Erin, my wife, and I were going through our problems. I went down to San Diego. I had a client that had a beach house, and I just went there. And my plan was to exit the marriage. Like that's where I was setting myself up with. I'm out. And I was running on the beach. I've told this story a lot, but I was running on the beach, sand. I remember the waves kind of hit me, like, the waves smash. You got kind of the wind hitting your face. And I asked myself, have I been the best husband I could possibly be? Because what I was doing before that, I was bitching about her.
Yeah.
She's not a good wife. She's not this. She's not that. All these things I thought she was supposed to be and do for me. And I have to run the companies myself. She's not pitching in.
Sure.
All this story. And then I go, have I been the best husband I could possibly be for 30 days straight? And it was like an instant, nope. It wasn't like I needed to ponder it.
Yeah.
It came back. It's like, oh, maybe it's not all her.
Sure.
Maybe I have something to contribute to that.
Yeah.
And that's what started this journey, which eventually evolved into the activation method, which we've proven a methodology to do it.
Yeah. That self-reflection is huge. And it's, I'm going to say not 100%, but 99% of men would answer no if they were given that question, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. What I also say, so I've had guys go, oh, no, I'm just doing everything right, Doug. I'm like, all right, I'll just use Bob as an example. I'm like, Bob, if I go have coffee with your wife today, just coffee, and I ask her if you're showing up 100%, what is she going to say? Well,
yeah, well, that's the thing. I should rephrase my answer there was that if they're being honest,
yes,
they would be no, but they probably 99% would say yes, I'm doing everything, and then, but the reality is just not. And what does everything mean? It's a lot. It's take a step back, look what your expectations of them are.
Yeah.
What do you expect from your wife, and then what would they be expecting from you? Once you understand that, because you probably don't even understand that, right?
Yeah. Well, it's the question I'll ask a guy is, did you sell your wife a bad bill of goods when you married her? Like, who did she buy when you guys got married? And are you showing up as that man?
Right.
And guys, I didn't think that way. I'm in a position of working with thousands of guys at this point. And when guys answer that question, like, are you showing up as the promise that you promised her when you said I do?
Yeah.
And if the answer is no, time to self-correct, right?
Right.
Because you want, as a man, I want to show up that way. Not only for her, but that's going to be the best version of me.
Sure.
At the end of the day. And other people can see the best versions in ourselves. And that's what causes a lot of strife.
Yeah.
I know it did for Erin. My wife is, in her, we've looked at this retrospectively, but she's like, I saw the greatness in you. That's why I married you. But you weren't showing up that way, and that hurt.
Yeah.
Right. Because why won't you show up that way for me? You don't care enough about me or do the work to get there.
We all put in that effort and make ourselves put our best foot forward to get the girl.
Yeah.
Right? And then you get the girl and it's like, oh, I got her now. But why? You wanted her. You should still want her. You should want to do for her every day.
Yeah.
Because you want to. Right?
Yeah. I didn't, man. I checked the box. Got married, check. That problem is done. Now I'm going to go build the empire.
So common, right?
Dude, yeah.
You get so complacent and you're just like, you take it for granted and they feel like they're being taken for granted, right?
Yeah. We hadn't agreed.
It's how you feel, I mean.
Yeah.
A quote that I really love is, they may not remember what you say. They may not even remember what you do, but they will remember how you make them feel.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And you think about that in its essence and just how do you walk away from someone? How do you feel? I mean, people say things, they can do things. I could go out and buy a girl a Louis Vuitton bag every week if I wanted to. Does that make her feel good? No, it's just another thing, right?
Yep.
What makes her feel good?
Yeah. That same woman, to your point, if you know her lovely, you could just, put a blanket down in the park and bring, some cheese and a bottle of wine. Yeah. It's a thought too, right?
Life is just experience in moments, right? And you want to build those moments with someone you want to be with. And
yeah, I was just talking before you came in to record this at the ranch to someone, and the question came up of someone's birthday next week, and I was like, one person was like, okay, we got to find a really nice dinner place and do this, and I was like, hey, this person's like love language is like acts of service. Instead of doing that and spending a ton of money using money to show that we care, let's cook something super special and everybody be together and have that gathering, because it's not about the nice restaurant, the fancy wine, and all of these
connection.
Things. Yeah, I mean those things are great. Don't get me wrong. It's 100% the connection, right, and the intent.
Yeah, and act of service is that cooking piece would mean so much because it's special.
Yeah. Well, because, for me at least, throwing around money is easy, right? You're just using money to solve a problem.
Sure.
Right? But taking the time to prepare a meal, a menu, that takes thought and care. And
it's heartfelt.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're just sitting down somewhere and you give somebody some money to do all the work.
Right. Yeah.
It's very different. And I think men do a lot of this in their marriage, not the money part as much, but they expect everything just to be taken care of. They'll take the easy route to go through.
Sure.
And so men listening to
You're buying flowers for Valentine's Day, right? Everyone buys flowers for Valentine's Day. Can you find something special that she didn't ask for, or that, she'd love, and it's from the heart? Like, maybe whatever it is. Maybe it's a little thing with your kids' pictures and, a plaque. You build something out special. It's just, she's going to cherish that a lot more than flowers that are going to go in the garbage a week later, right?
Yep.
I mean, and women love flowers. It's not the point of that, but that's just something you're buying. You're checking that box, right?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes what I'll do, and this is a tangent, but I'm thinking I need to do this more where we're talking about this because I go through waves. I just forget, right? Like me, Andrew, I'll actually put things on my project management software to like show up regularly, to remind me like, come on, moron.
we need a lot of those. We're still cavemen.
Yeah, that's right. But what I'll do is every once in a while, I'll just put like a Post-it note on the coffee maker because I get up earlier. And so when she goes to get that cup of coffee, it just says something to her, like, thanks, and I'll be cheeky about it too. And it'll be sexual stuff. Or sometimes it's just like, hey, thanks for being a great mom.
Yeah.
And then when I do stuff like that, she comes teary crying to me and give me hugs because it means so much. She feels seen. Yeah. Right. And thought about.
Kind of interesting you say that. So I did that when we were in Prague. I had a challenge to do a, appreciation challenge for my ex-wife, or soon to be ex-wife. And I did it for my kids, and I did a video every day, and I packaged it up and I bundled it up, whatever. And when I gave it to them, she obviously saw it, and it hit her in a different way than was intended, right? And she's like, I don't understand. I never felt that you liked those things about me. I always thought that you hated them about me. It's like, no, I never hated. It was all the special things that she did for my kids on a daily basis that, but I realized, man, I wasn't ever showing the appreciation. I wasn't showing the little things of her packaging their lunch and putting a little note in there or this or that, or, you know what I mean? Like, and she's a great mother, right?
Yeah.
But I took it for granted.
Sure,
right?
man.
It was just what it was. So like you realize when you step away from something like, wow,
Yeah, just like all men want to be cherished. Like we go out and we hunt. We're business guys. We bring back the prey. We want to be acknowledged. Like sit down on the couch, and everybody's like, thank you. Your wife gets on her knees. And, all guys have this fantasy of the way we should be treated. Yet we don't think about the other person's.
Yep.
Right. And most men spend more of their time thinking, I should be more appreciated. I should get more acknowledgement.
Yeah.
Don't be spending my money. And they'll start controlling them. And they'll do it. Meanwhile, they're not being grateful.
Right.
Instead, if you took that energy and flipped it over and got super appreciative,
tenfold.
You would get back at least tenfold, right?
Yeah.
And it's an interesting dilemma. It's not even a dilemma, but it's an interesting paradigm when guys listening to this. What I want you guys to think about is if you have resentment towards your wife, you have ill feelings, or you don't feel appreciated, or you're not feeling seen. Instead of focusing on not feeling seen as an example for the man you are, spend your energy seeing her for the woman she is. Yeah. Do it for 30 days. That's what I think I've challenged you on. At least 30 days, and then see what happens.
Yeah.
And every time I've done that, man, especially early on, like the gratefulness, or I'll do it when I'm pissed at my wife. This doesn't happen anymore because we're at a stage where, kind of like you said, you get triggered. We get out of it very fast when we get triggered with each other. But I remember I used to be like, she's just so ungrateful. I'm working. I have 3 companies. I'm working my ass off. Then I come home and she wants me to help clean. She's not doing anything else. I had this whole story. And then I go, okay, 30 days of gratefulness. Guess what happened? My wife completely changed. But
self-love,
really, I changed.
Gratefulness, forgiveness, appreciation. I mean, they're the biggest things that can change your energy state in 2 seconds flat. You do that daily gratitude, if it's for your wife or for anything in life, you're showing up differently. Your energy is showing up differently.
100%. And that's why some guys don't understand, like, how can I go through a program and change my marriage or change my relationships? And one of the reasons is the way that you start showing up is different, and everybody is reacting to you as the man because you're the leader in the house.
Yeah.
So your energy, if you're anxious all the time, you're stressed all the time, that energy is going to show up in your household. Sure. Same as if you're playful all the time and you're grateful, your kids are going to be playful. They're going to be grateful, They'll go out into the world and say please and thank yous, not because you've made them, because they're choosing to.
Yeah. And that's the beautiful thing about being in this group is that you're constantly leveling up. You're surrounding yourself with like-minded people who are doing the work. And, it's just like anything else. I mean, people talk about it. You want to be a millionaire, hang out with millionaires. You want to be a billionaire, hang out with billionaires, right? You're surrounding yourself in that energy. And this energy is what, men need men. And this is the place where you can talk about anything openly, freely, and just be yourself. And you find yourself, you find the self that you might have left a long time ago, right?
So
I did anyway.
Well, no.
I can't speak for everybody, but pretty much everyone has that same outcome.
I think, I can't think of anybody. I've done alpha resets for almost 8 years now as an example. I can't think of anybody that hasn't given it a 5 out of 5.
Yeah.
For the event and what's come out of it.
Unequivocally best week I've ever done in my life.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. And I've done a lot of things, Doug.
Yeah, I know you have. Yeah. And I hear that time and time again. That's not to dilute your experience.
Yeah.
But a lot of guys will say, hey, man, the birth of my kids would be the second or something along that. Like it's that significant of an experience. The alpha reset is like almost like a rite of passage for men. We get asked, we keep them very small. They're very difficult and time consuming for us as people. And of course, businessmen come in, as you know, Andrew, they're very small, intimate groups. And as a business guy, it makes no business sense because you should scale this and we should do stadiums.
Yeah. All right.
But we can guarantee the result and the outcome by keeping it small. And that's
it would be diluted if you,
100%. Yeah. It's not worth it. It'd still be great, but it might not be the best experience of your life. It'd just be a good one.
Sure. And I said, it's the energy of the guys you surround it with too. If you had, it has to be like somewhat like-minded. We're all from a different countries, but at the end of the day, you put it together and like, wow,
Great men.
Yeah.
Absolutely great men. Well, speaking of great men, you are, man. Thanks so much for taking time to come out here to spend time with me, but be here for the men. You left your family, you left your business, just to dedicate and give back and pour into these men as they go through this journey and this journey of this experience that we call the rising.
It's such an honor to be here, Doug. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. I tell you, I really wouldn't.
I love
this
buddy.
place.
I love having you here.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, gentlemen, as I always say in the moment of insight, take massive action. What I'd love for you guys to do is just go back through this. And I say this a lot on the show, but really go back and listen to Andrew's journey, right? You have a man that really has just poured into you guys by sharing, hey, here's where I was and here's where I am now. It doesn't have to be through TPM. Just do something though, right? Yeah. The thing about Andrew is he takes massive action. He had an issue, saw a possible solution, said, I'm diving in. And I've personally seen him do that in so many different areas of his life since that time. But keep doing it. Keep doing the journey and look towards guys like Andrew as beacons of light, of lighthouses, if you would. So when the storm gets rough and you're out there on the seas and you're the captain of your boat, lighthouses like Andrew will guide you safely to shore. They'll show you the path that other men have taken before you. So you know with encouragement that, hey, these other guys like Andrew have done this. They've been successful in doing this and changing their lives, changing their energy. You don't need to be stressed out all the time, guys. You don't have to be in fear of your marriage. You don't have to walk on eggshells. You don't need to be in a sexless relationship. You and your partner deserve one of passion, one of energy. You got one shot at this game we call life, at least one that we know of for sure. So take advantage of that and take some action now. Go back, listen to Andrew's words and his advice. It's gold. And then decide what it is you are going to take action on and do it today. Don't wait till tomorrow or next week. Do it today, I implore you, because guys, you deserve more than average. We'll see you next time on the TPM Show.